Let's fucking go. Let's do it. Let's do it. How do you follow a man who's been fingered in the arse in quite an exceptional way? I don't know if I really can, to be honest with you. Quite significant. How's everyone doing? We good? Yeah. Woo! Thanks for coming out tonight. I do really, really appreciate it. This show is called Friec. Obviously, look at the state of it. And certainly some of the things we've heard tonight, I think we can agree. So I was at the bar the other day. I was at a bar with some mates, and this guy turned to me and he said one of the most outrageous opening lines I've ever heard anybody say to someone they don't know. He looked at me and he said, "Do you know what you've got, mate?" And I was like, "No, please tell me. What do I have?" He said, "You have the energy of a man who was molested as a child." Now, what the fuck do you say to that? What a hell of an opener. What am I supposed to do? Firstly, don't worry, I wasn't. Okay? Just to give that straight there. I was raised in the church, but not that one. So there we go. A couple of Catholics in. But it's awful, because now what do I do when I introduce myself to people? Do I have to go, "Hi, my name's Dan, don't worry"? No, I wasn't. I just look like this. It's my aura, as the kids say. My aura is molested energy. Wasn't too keen on that one, to be honest with you. So I thought, I did what any rational human being would have done in this moment, and I actually retreated. I went home and I went on ChatGPT, and I said, "What does this mean?" And ChatGPT replied, I made AI think, okay? That's how exceptional this was. And he went, perhaps, you reminded him of someone he molested. That was the way it went with it. Genuine fucking AI right there. Perhaps you reminded him of someone he molested. But at the time, I thought, I can't, you can't really say anything back to that when someone drops that kind of game on you. Maybe he was. Maybe it was a flirt. Maybe that was it. Slightly odd, if you ask me. But I looked at him and I thought, oh, there we go. The T-shirt is tucked into his sweatpants. Interesting. And he had a sunflower lanyard. So I thought... best let that one go, is what I thought. He's going through some stuff. Bless him. But this is difficult, because what do I do now? I'm now like appropriating someone else's trauma. This is absolutely insane. I do have genuine trauma of my own, which we will get to, timely. Okay? And that you can kind of see from me standing on this stage tonight, most of my trauma comes from my height. Okay? I was 6'2" when I was 12. And I can barely fit on this stage right this second. But no, I'm now 6'6", which is average height for a regulation door frame. Would you believe? Did you know that? Regulation. Completely average, me. In every department. So, you're better than that. Reese isn't. So... this is it, I've got a lot to deal with, being a tall chappy. It's tough, I can barely fit on this stage, for one, as I mentioned. The other sort of little piece of trauma I have, the reason why this show's called Friec is because my surname is Friec, commonly mispronounced for freak. I know, right? But, I've had to deal with this and I've processed this in my life. The surname Friec is actually French, would you believe it or not, obviously. But it loosely translates to the cash, which is ironic because I've got none. Zero. And then I realised it makes sense. My mother's maiden name is Fuller, which loosely translates to failure. And I've got that in spades, let me tell you. No one has failed more than me, unfortunately. No, it's all good, don't worry. I don't want your pity. No, it's all good. It's all good. No, but school was tough, obviously. School became difficult for the aforementioned reasons. To be fair, people didn't really call me Friec. Once they got over it and they knew the name, they sort of went for it. good and proper. Actually, my biggest issue, I had a couple of other nicknames at school, and one of them, like all good nicknames, was gifted to me by my PE teacher, which was exceptionally kind of him. It was Crazy Legs. They used to call me Crazy Legs, which was really exciting. And I got gifted this because we were playing football once, and yes, I played football. Once. So we're playing football, and I was in defence. The ball was bouncing in abundance towards the goal, and I go to clear it off the line, and I stick my trotter up so high, but my fucking studs actually got caught on the crossbar, and it just got stuck, and I was just dangling there like, mother of God, no! And everyone else thought this was great, you know. This is in year 8. I was 12 years old at this stage, okay? My foot is... Oh, shouldn't do that. My foot was... Went a bit Elon. But so my foot was raised nice and high on the crossbar, studs dangling in there, and my PE teacher from the sideline just goes, crazy legs, crazy legs. And then all the other children start going, crazy legs, crazy legs. This was in a competitive game of football. Do you realise what that does to a child? And I then got cramp and it all got worse. It was all a bit of a stinker, to be honest with you. And this was it. So we then got in a huddle, post-match huddle, and my teacher was like, well done, Crazy Legs. Good game, mate. You didn't save the goal, but you tried. And then he ended the team talk by saying, do you know what you should do? I was like, what's that, sir? He was like, you should go on Embarrassing Bodies. For those who aren't aware of the Channel 4 programme, that was a programme where people with genuine life-changing deformities went on national television to try and get some support and help, okay? And generally, most of these episodes ended exactly the same. They didn't know what to do. The doctor was just like, I'm not really sure. You're going to have to stick with it. And the poor person sat there like, yeah, that's why I fucking came here, mate. And now it's going to be spread all over the nation. Thanks for that. So great. So they actually just gave them, a bit of mental health support, which was really lovely, really kind of them, before butchering them on national television. Worked that one out. But this was it. He said you should go on Embarrassing Bodies. And my height's always been a dominant feature of my life. And look, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that now. But at the time, at school, they used to use my leg as a meter ruler every now and then when they ran out. So one day in science, just came about, the teacher was like, we just ran out a few meter sticks here. Dan, just pop yourself on the table. Okay, pop myself on the table, leg goes up. He then started manoeuvring my leg. Maybe I was molested as a child, actually. No. It's a horrifying realisation in front of people, that one. No, but he had a little feel, and it was like, yeah, that is about the length we need. That's about a metre, everybody. And then just ended the lesson abruptly. Sort of just gets worse and worse, really, doesn't it? Education's finest, right there. But I found out recently, which was, kind of a good way of using the height, I found out recently that I'm actually a fetish. Isn't that exciting? I know. Yes, there is a whole online sub-community of people who are short women who are obsessed with finding tall men. And the reason I found this out, I was looking through some articles, and there's a lady from Ecuador who started a website called ILikeToFuckTall.com. So I went on there and... No, it turns out, actually, the reason I was reading the article, it turns out this website was used as a front for the Ecuadorian cartel to ship drugs to Western Europe, would you believe? Really, really exciting stuff. Did it, however, start, again, this massive sub-community of people looking for lustful gameplay with tall fellas? Yes, it absolutely did, okay? These things spread like a wildfire, okay? People were obsessed with it, and I did bookmark them all. And it's tough, It's tough being tall. For example, can't buy clothes. Look at the state of that. A man's trouser should go to the bottom of the shoe, top of the shoe even. But look at that. Absolutely disgusting, okay? That's as low as that goes. Unbelievable. This is a long, by the way. Is it next? Is it really? No. Okay, but I don't know who, somewhere at H&M, some fashion person decided that height equates to width. Okay, so you can't get anything which is the right size for you unless it's like 4, 5 XL. So someone somewhere in like the fashion companies was like, do you know what? I've never seen a skinny tall person. Never seen one before in my life. Let's give them all something extra baggy. And it's a nightmare, okay? It's a nightmare. And the expectations on us. It's unbelievable, okay? I can't walk through a supermarket without a little old biddy going, oh, would you, darling? No! I'm fed up. I'm in a rush. You didn't care about that, do you? Is this my piece of community service for you? Is that what it is? It's a disgrace. Bring a stepladder. If you're that short you can't ring, bring a stepladder. Disgusting. But you know, there's so many other expectations on this. You know, if you're in a bar, for example, and it all kicks off, who's the first person they look at? Oi, big boy, get over here and split these stamps up. In case you're wondering, I've never had a fight in my life. I mean, look at me. Do you know what I mean? I'm a soft bitch, all right? I'm not getting involved there. Once I was in a bar, right? And this fight started kicking off. And the person behind the bar was like, is there any big, strong men who can go and stop that? And I was like, here we go. And I see, like, you know, like the Red Sea's parting, and I say, oh, great, now this is me. I've got to enter the small people's theatre of war here. Enter their arena. I'm sure they're going to love a 6'6" fella trying to break them up. Because then what happens is you intervene, and then you just turn on you. Short man syndrome, and they start punching up at you. It's awful. It's insane. And we've got to deal with this, you know? We've got to put up with this. People don't realise. In the back of my head, when that kicks off, all I hear is back at the school, crazy legs, crazy legs, crazy legs. And I feel compelled to do something. So I raise my leg as high as I can and boot them in the head. And even that was probably a bit too tall for some of these fellas, to be honest with you. But it's horrific, you know? It's awful. And, you know, I just want to tell a lovely audience like you that it starts with you guys. Okay? These expectations, they must stop. Okay? And I get it. Yeah? There's expectations which are unfair on all of us. You know? At work, we've got a DEI calendar separate to the rest of the calendar. Just when I want to get my DEI fix, I go on there and I go, ooh, love that. And I feel empowered. Until I realised the simple amount of awareness that we need to have. It's insane. Did you know there were over 300 awareness months? There's only 12. Campaigners are actually trying to campaign, to lengthen the calendar to accommodate for the amount of awareness months. It's an absolute joke. And we've got to put up with it. And we've got to pretend like we care about this shit, all right? And we've got to go along with it. And, you know, everyone's got to sit around in a corporate setting and go, what have I learned today? Oh, it's outrageous. You all know what I mean. You've all been there. Pretending to care about Lupus Awareness Month. I've seen you all. I've seen you all. Now, do these things need awareness? Yes, of course, but just not for me. That'd be lovely. I don't want to know. I don't want to know a single thing. So I kind of thought about it, and really, what I've decided we, in fact, actually need is an awareness month for awareness months, okay? It's what we need to do. It's the only way we're going to sort this out, you know? Did you know that November is Medicinal Cannabis Awareness Month? Get them, they're in. Bunch of potheads. But it is interesting, you know? Oh, listen, I'm sure cannabis has some medicinal qualities, but isn't it really interesting how all the potheads suddenly have really poorly backs? Do you not notice that? Do you not notice that? All the drug addicts? Yeah, now their backs are a bit sore. Yeah, and they got a dodgy knee all of a sudden. Did you notice? Or, hear me out. It's bullshit. How about that? I know what I'm banking on. And you know, I bumped into this guy at a conference a few months ago, and he was like, I was offloading to him, trauma dumping about my awareness months. I was like, it's too many, it's ridiculous, it's a joke. And he went, I actually am trying to create one of my own. And I thought, oh, here we go. He was like, I want to create National Jacobean Tragedy Awareness Month. And I thought, that's ridiculous. That is even more absurd than the other ones. And he went, and I told her this to his face. I said, you're a joke, and your mother doesn't love you. Sort it out. And he was like, okay, Bertie Big Balls, name me one. And I was just froze. I thought, shit. I could do with an awareness month. To be honest with you, actually, yeah, I could do with some awareness around this one, maybe. But I've actually figured out what I'm going to do to really deal with the trauma. And I'm actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create Lanky Bastards Awareness Month. How about that one, yeah? Absolutely. Thank you. You can clap that. That's fine. You know, and I get it, right? There are lots of unfair expectations, as I say, on us all. And it's difficult because, you know, we're all products of our environment, right? We're all products of how we're brought up, okay? Take my dad, for example, okay? He's recently got really into the hunt for Asian hornets recently. I don't know if anyone else's... I don't know if anyone else's parents have got on that. He hates immigration, so, you know... In all forms... Get him out. Walked in, me and my brother. He's like, they're coming over and nicking our pollen, I'll tell you. It's an outrage. I'm sick of it. We were having drinks outside last summer. Lovely little family picnic. And we heard it. Old man's triggered. What's that? That better be a homegrown wasp. All of a sudden, Dad turns into like ice in like America. He's just like crunching it down. He's got it in like one of them. You know when dads do that thing with like the cup and a bit of paper and they get it? He did that and he was inspecting it. He was like, undocumented. We're going to need to sort this out. Get this one out the hive. So anyway, he concluded that it wasn't an Asian hornet and let it go, and it stung me 5 times. I should have led with, I'm actually allergic to wasp stings, which was lovely of him. Thanks for that one. But, you know, it's not just our families, hey? It's our friends. Our friends are... Most of mine are horrific, to be honest with you, but a lot of them in tonight. Shouldn't have made that joke. Awkward. No, but, you know, this is the thing. We're a massive product of how we hang out with our mates, right? So I've got this mate. Let's call him Brian, for the purposes of this next bit. Brian is what I would describe as a bit of a fucking idiot, which is cool, you know. And I used to live with him. We used to live with him at uni. And he's the kind... How would you describe this guy? He's the kind of guy, he had this most outrageous confidence. We went out to a club one time and we were stood at the bar leaning back and he saw these beautiful women getting chatted up by some fellas. And he goes, Dan, you see all them men out there? And I was like, yes, Brian, I do. He goes, they are all 6s who think they're 10s. I was like, wow, Brian, it's profound. And he said, not me. I'm a 10 who thinks he's a 6. Yeah, completely meaningless. Means absolutely nothing, that. When you really dive deep, that means nothing, okay? But in his mind, he thought he was dropping Socrates on me. He was like, come on, baby. There you go. There's some lovely philosophy for you to soak in. All right, cheers, Brian. Go and get rejected by all of them, please, mate. So he was the kind of guy, so he used to do this thing. He used to, like, phone up Chinese takeaways and pretend to order as Voldemort. Which was so bizarre. He didn't even want Chinese food. He just thought I'd have a go. He'd, like, ring up and go, oh... Nagini, would you like the chow mein? Severus, you were beginning to worry. Would you like the special fried rice? And he would just keep going on and on until the other person put the phone down. And he would always end it the same way. He would try and ask them, he would be like, what's the delivery time? And they'd always be like, whatever it was, and he'd say, I can see on your website it says delivery time is no less than 25 minutes. But you're telling me it'll be more closer to 40. How lies have fed your legacy. And then he would Avada Kedavra them down the phone in the best hope that it would work well for him. I don't know. I think he thought it was a prank. I don't really know. But he was just such a weird bloke, but kind of lovable at the same time, Once he was, we were at home. I was in the living room. And he was in his bedroom, and I just heard from his bedroom just a little noise. It was like, bah! And I thought, okay, interesting noise. But it was a bunch of boys living in that house, so we ignored it. We didn't try and see what the problem was. Naturally. And he came out into the living room, no joke, okay, in nothing but his t-shirt, like full Pooh Bear. Like he rocked out, and he just walked out, and he was just like. Boys, I've got a problem. We were like, I can see, Brian. Lack of clothing, for one. He was like, help me, lads. My penis looks like a Phillips head screwdriver. And in his defence, it did. It really did. It had the grooves, it had the whole thing. Like, part of me was like, wow, we could take that thing down to IKEA and knock up some flat pack in no time. Like, it was exceptionally profound, actually. The rivets on the tip of his penis. And we sort of thought, he was like, what do I do? We were like, Brian, first thing, and I can't express this enough. Put your trousers on. I don't want to be looking at that thing. Okay, seriously, get it away. I was sat down. It was like right in the eye line as well. Poking eye out with that thing. The tip was shot. And it turned out that basically he had so many genital warts that they had all congealed into one like big thing, which sort of like deformed the tip of his penis. And I escorted him to the clinic because I'm a good friend. So, took him down there, and he came back out, and he went, it's absolutely fine. I went, is it? I don't think, I've seen embarrassing bodies. I don't think they look at that sort of thing and go, that's absolutely fine. And he went, no. It was the 12-man I slept with unprotected in Malaga the other week. We were like, yeah, that will do it. And he went, it's going to be a hard sell to the missus, isn't it? Yeah, it was. Real hard sell. Anyway, they're married now, but she really stood by him. She had a lot of flat pat that needed doing, what can I say? Oh, dear. So, dating's not always been easy for me because of a mixture of my height and personality. It's not always been easy. Not always been easy for me. I went on a date once with this Asian girl. Sorry, Dad. And I he was fuming. You did what? So went on a date with this Asian girl, and she was originally from China. And we were doing all the sort of first date things, we were sort of getting to know each other. I was doing all the right things and asking her what she did for a living, even though I didn't care. She was a lawyer, so, there you go. So I was like, what do you do for a living? And have you got any pets? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I do have a pet. I was like, oh, wow. What kind of pet have you got? And she was like, I've got a cat. I was like, oh, what is this cat's name? And she said, Mao. And I went, you've named your cat after Chairman Mao, the murderous dictator of millions in China. That's the most extraordinary thing I think I've ever heard. Imagine going around to your mate's house. And it's like, oh, where's my dog? Colonel Gaddafi, how are you? Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Who's killed all the Libyans? Literally, that is what she was dealing with. Chairman Mao, unbelievable. Turns out, actually, she was like, don't be so ridiculous. I didn't name it after Chairman Mao. Mao is Mandarin for cat. I said, well, that's even fucking worse, isn't it? You've named your cat Cat. Absurd, like it's like a child naming something. What is it? That's the name of it. Unbelievable. Bless her. So I didn't see her again. And I know what you're thinking, looking at me up here. He's not very well travelled. Clearly. Lets them come to him. And I'm about that, you know. I actually hate travelling as a concept. Not the idea of going to new places and seeing new cultures, but the people who go travelling are really fucking annoying. I'm sure we know many of them. And I'm sure they've all been to Bali. No matter how many times you ask them not to mention it, they will continue to do. Oh, wouldn't it be so lovely if I was still in Bali? I'm sure it would. Tell me about it more. And this is the thing, you know, and they all say the same thing, these people, don't they? They all say the same thing. They're like, oh, you're so uncultured. You wouldn't get it. You've never left your box. You wouldn't get it. You're so uncultured. It's like, yeah, all right, Betty. Look, you're not fucking cultured because you got fingered by a monkey in Cambodia. Like, do you know what I mean? Congratulations. Brilliant. Good one. And it's generally the same type of people. You know, a lot of posh people. I had to explain this to a lot of Americans recently. I was like, you know, posh people? And they were like, what? And I was like, you know, like all their words sound like one really long vowel. Like, them. They're the ones. Can't be dealing with them. In the bin, please. No, they're absolutely horrific. And you've got to just fucking pretend like you care about this, and you've got to nod along. Yeah, I'm sure Barney's great. Yeah, I'm sure you found yourself. Yeah, yeah. Oh, did you come back with different pronouns? Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Didn't see that one coming. Goodness me. But, you know, I was next to one of these, couple of these people when I was travelling recently. I was on a stag do in Budapest. But it's travel. It counts, you know. And I was on this plane, and I get the, you know, aisle seat, because, you know, length. And I was had this couple next to me, this travelling couple, and I could tell what they were about. I could tell they weren't going hungry for the titty bars. I could tell. You can see it in someone, can't you? You can see it. And they were really cosy, and they were all so lovey-dovey, and they were so in love, and it was so lovely, and they were all over each other. And the time came about halfway through the flight where they sort of gave me a little tap on the shoulder, and they were like, excuse me, can we get past? A bit like that. No, as you were. So they would... they'd give me a tap on the shoulder, try to get past, and they made a beeline together for the toilet. And I thought, okay, lads, what's going on here? I thought what any other person thought, and they were going in there to have a bit of, you know, mid-flight action. And I wasn't the only one who thought this, because I heard a voice from someone behind me, and they had a very thick Irish accent. And they were sort of like, oh my God. I can't believe it. You're making your way to the toilet, Michael? Oh my God, Michael. You know what happens in the toilet in a mid-flight with a little couple? You know what happens? Oh my God, Michael. I think they're shagging on the plane, Michael. Michael! Don't just stand there, Michael. They're shagging on the plane. You can let this happen. I was loving the commentary myself. Made the whole experience infinitely better, to be completely honest with you. Anyway, they come out about 3.5 minutes later. Record time. They come out and they make their way back to the seat, and I just hear this lady behind me go, oh my God, Michael. You would never last that long, Michael. Maybe we should go up there, Michael. Have a word with the air hostess. That accent took a bit of a European tour, but we'll push through. They came back, they sat down, she just kept going. She couldn't believe it. This lady behind me was absolutely fuming. She'd spent all this time on this flight, and now she couldn't go to the bathroom because people had been fucking in there, you know. Probably left goodness knows what in there. And she was like, oh my God, Michael. I'm bursting for the toilet, Michael. I'm not going in there. She didn't realise there was a toilet at the back of the plane. But anyway, I'm not going in there, Michael. And a point of principle, I'm not going back in there. Anyway, we come into land, and I'm thinking, okay, I need to get a glimpse at this person behind me. This is absolutely iconic. I turn around as we get up at the end of the flight, and there was a solo lady sat in the aisle on her own. Who was she talking to? This is absolutely insane. She put on this weird, like, Mrs. Doubtfire-esque voice just to talk to herself for the entire flight. Who's Michael? Where's he gone? And then I thought, this is so sad. Is it a deceased husband who she's just yapping onto in the middle of a flight? This is absolutely insane. And you know, she kept going as we went through into the pick up our luggage and stuff, and she just kept nattering to herself, Michael. Every the luggage will come out now, Michael. I'm absolutely fed up. Fed up with it, Michael. I can't take it anymore. And I'm thinking, all right, chill out, mate. Jeez. And it got me thinking, realistically, you know, no matter how crazy my legs are, no matter how many dates I flop out of, no matter how shit the love life is, I may be a freak, but I'm not as freakish as that. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure tonight.